The debate on the Constitution Reform Report was taken up in the Senate on Thursday, and one of the contributors was Dr. James Fletcher, one of the proponents of a more relevant constitution for St. Lucia. Dr. Fletcher spoke about St. Lucia deserving a constitution that addresses critical issues of national significance.
This constitution is in need of revision because our times are changing. The notion of citizen participation in government and our democracy is evolving. The availability of information to citizens on the operations of government is increasing. Our relationships with the outside world, both regionally and internationally, are becoming more intertwined and sophisticated. And clearly, the most important document, which sets out the principles on which our country is governed and how we relate to each other, government to people to people, must also be reflective of these times. And I dare say, we now have an environment, Mr. President, where we have to look at not just relationships of government to people, but machine to people and machine to machine. Because we're living in a world now where machines are talking to each other and machines are talking to us. That is the world that we're living in, a world that caused Stephen Hawking, the world-famous physicist from University of Cambridge, to sound a note of caution and say that he is very concerned about the route in which the civilization is going, because very soon machines will take over the world. This is not really just the stuff of science fiction. This is a man who wrote about a brief history of time and who told us about black holes and who's saying that be careful with how you're moving with your civilization. Now, I'm not as pessimistic as Professor Hawking, but that's probably because I don't know as much as he does. But this is all to tell you that the world in which we live is a totally different world, and our constitution must reflect this. You heard the leader of government business speak about how much regionalism is playing in our operations now. Not too many years ago, we entered into an OECS economic union, which is still evolving. And you also heard from the leader of government business about the imperfections of what is a very sound technical document, the imperfections of its translation into an actual regional integration process that you and I and somebody in Guave, in Grenada, or in St. John's, Antigua, can feel that they're part of a regional process. This new constitution has to speak to that, has to speak to us having a domestic identity and a regional identity.